Well, the Alouette River watershed is completely visceral to who we are. Anybody who's lived here for any length of time ends up having a relationship with that river and the watershed, and that goes right from the mountains down to the floodplain and then into the pit river.
The Alouette River is located midway up the Fraser Valley in Maple Ridge. Diked and dammed early in the century, it was destined to be a shallow backwater tributary of the Pitt and Fraser rivers.
The mean average flow coming down the river that had been measured before the dam was built was 803 cubic feet per second. Well, it was times after that when there was no flows coming down the river. The DFO records are that we were down to about 300 chum and about 500 coho.
However, a remarkable group of people have changed the course of the river and its watershed. They came together under the Alouette River Management Society in 1993 to restore flows and bring back the salmon to Alouette River.
Tom Cadieux had phoned me up and asked me if I'd be one of the founding directors, and I said I would under a number of conditions. I said, number one, I wanted the portfolio for flow control so that I could go back to BC Hydro and try and negotiate more flows. Number two, I wanted the support that we had the intestinal fortitude to challenge Hydro in court if that's what it took. And then I heard that they were going to do an in-stream flow study, BC Hydro, and they wanted to draw together an eclectic group of scientists and sit down and set out the format and study the results. And I crashed this public meeting. I just went and sat down and I introduced myself as we went around the table. I said, I'm a director in the Alouette River Management Society. We are, have appointed ourselves the watchdog of this river, and therefore I've come here to be the public ear on what you are considering in this study, and also once we get to the results, what the recommendations might be. We're going to have a big say in that.
After many years of dedication from determined individuals such as Jeff Clayton and devoted partners such as the Katzie First Nation, the Sierra Legal Defense Fund, and all levels of government, an agreement was reached that had far greater impact than anyone had foreseen.
I think we started in January. By July, we got full pipe. And then we had a ceremony on the dam top, and I didn't find one person that didn't believe that maybe we had created something that would just spin off. It was magic. It was absolute magic.
They had not only established an ongoing partnership with BC Hydro, where adequate flows were released for salmon, but in doing so, instigated a template of a water use plan, a process for negotiating water flows, that has been used for over 30 rivers affected by BC Hydro in the province. The other great partnership and success has been with BC Corrections and Alco Hatchery, that saw all 5 species of salmon returning naturally to the Alouette River every year. It started from humble beginnings.
They were certainly getting to that critical stage when, in 1979, BC Corrections and this site that we're at now went to DFO and said, couldn't we start some hatchery boxes right here on the few remaining salmon that we have?
Over 13 years, the hatchery grew, and with the help of increased flows, brought the number of chum, springs, coho, and chinook back up to healthy numbers.
We are enumerating all the fry out migrations. We're getting a handle on what this flow increase means, and it's dramatic. It's fantastic. The chum now are up to between 200,000 and 300,000. Coho, we've held our number of cohos where other have been slipping and have even built a bit.
The challenge was to bring back the sockeye that they believed had been extirpated.
We were trying to do a test on coho. We were going to release coho above the dam and see if they would survive coming through a release gate in the face of the dam down into the river. And then we put in a fish trap 1.5 kilometers below the dam. And within 16 hours, to our amazement, we had smolting coho that had swam 4 kilometers down the lake, gone over the spillway, gone 1.5 kilometers down the river, into our fish trap, and bang, there was no indication that there was any mortalities. So we said, wow, we've got a way to get sockeye out if we can get them in. But then when we opened the capture box, our jaws dropped because we had smolting kokanee.
And what are kokanee?
And what are kokanee? They are a country cousin of sockeye that are landlocked. And here, they didn't think they were landlocked at all. They'd gone through their hormonal changes and they wanted to migrate. So some of the scientists said, oh yes, but you know, that happened on the Coquitlam too. I think one or two got out, but they'll never survive because in 80 years they've gone through a morphology where when they hit salt water, it'll be like poison. But Dr. Walsh was doing a study on some Fraser stocks, and he was putting in sonic capsules in these fish, and he had a cable across the Wandapuka and one at Powell River, and was getting pings if these fish crossed the cable. We had 20 fish, one died. We kept them for a month and a half because we had to feed them and grow them in size because the scale of the sonic capsule would have been too big for their little bodies. And then we were told, well, we've missed the migration cycle, you know, so that won't work either. But we put them in anyway. 19 of them survived and were released here, and within 48 hours, 5 of them had pinged through the Port Mann Bridge, which was another cable. And then later on, one pinged through the Wandapuka, and I think one pinged through the Powell River. So somebody said with a joke, yeah, probably in a seal's belly. But we started to hope. And by golly, within 2 years, we had 38 return as full-size sockeye. We are now in the process of transporting sockeye. Our plan was to go forward and transport, as they do on Baker River, up into the lake until we had sufficient numbers, hopefully, where we could say this run is established, and we believe it's in the best interest of the public and certainly the aquatic environment within the Alouette to have a ladder. This is very exciting. And this year, we've had the highest number returned, adult returned yet, and we're approaching 100. And if we get to 100, I think we can start to say now, we have a small genesis of a run started. But if we had a fish ladder, all the fish that wish to could go up the ladder into the reservoir, and now we have 1/3 of the system of the Alouette, the headwaters of the Alouette, reconnected for the first time since 1925. And there are streams up there that we've studied. We've measured the habitat, the spawning capacity. We have a number of between 60 and 70,000 sockeye can utilize that upper system. And it's not just fish then. We're talking about the whole ecosystem above the dam could be brought back to its historical balance with the fish, with the flora and fauna of the whole area could be driven now by all 5 species getting back up in there. That's our ultimate goal.